me.
Episode 402.
He's got to throw some cold water on this situation. Start talking about nerd stuff.
You know, nerd culture is mainstream now, so when you use the word nerd derogatorily, it means you're the one that's out of the zeitgeist.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins and Tony Abdullah. It's a tech podcast, but we're a shit ton cooler than your typical geek, giving you the info you need to achieve mega nerd status. And now, here's Will and Tony.
Oh, baby, let me tell you, we are, I'm not going to lie, everybody, we're barely here. We're playing with we're playing hurt. We're playing with a dying mixer. But regardless, we are here. Welcome, everyone, another edition of NetHeads. My name is Will.
And I'm Tony.
Yeah, there you are. I always love that initial delay. It's just like, does the show really want to put Tony on? We're not exactly sure. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Sundays at 6 p.m. There's actually an audio that I could start playing again, which is it's a rendition of the Green Lantern oath, but different. It's like with strongest meme with brightest tweet, I'll never leave my broadcast seat. Let those who something might tune into NetHeads on Sundays. All right. And
that's pretty cool.
We could pull that back out again now that we are officially back here on Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific. Why, Tony? Because we got to combat the Sunday scary somehow, don't we? Everybody's got work tomorrow.
That and the fact that if you ever get pulled to help Fat Man and Beyond, we're not stuck in the lurch.
There you go. Yeah, we got some freedom on our side, which is kind of exactly what we need. So welcome, everybody. And by everybody, I mean nobody, because there's absolutely no advance notice and no promotion on this, which is great because it means we're laid back. We're chill. We're chill guys. Tony, are you a chill guy today?
I'm feeling pretty chill.
Awesome. By the way, let me just go ahead and address what? Let me just go ahead and address the content that's in the thumbnail. I don't want, actually, that'll be near the end of the show because we're not going to be clickbaity, but we are going to deliver. I always felt bad about the Wolverine helmet because it was a thumbnail for a show, and I'm like, yep, I printed this. Statement of fact, but we never talked about it during the program. So before
true, we didn't.
No. So before we're done, I will provide a Daredevil helmet update, even though I've been all over the internet wearing the damn thing already.
No, we could pull out and say, well, if you want a horny helmet, here you go.
There you go. Hey.
Clickbait.
But providing an update for something you've never talked about before, kind of a disingenuous as well. But you know what? It's okay. We're just here to combat the Sunday scaries. I did want to start the program off, though, making a very special announcement. And, that is not to say that, this is the episode where I finally learn the importance of coping with grief or something along those lines. It's not like a television special type of special episode. But I came to a realization, Tony, which is that I'm always the person that is very quick to drop a quote from a book named Illusions that is written by the author of Jonathan Livingston Seagull. I can't remember his name right now.
Okay.
But in that, there's a character who is actually a modern day Messiah. He is the modern day Messiah, but he's not trying to get into the modern day Messiah game because it never ends well for them. Right. Name of David Shimoda, a guy flying a biplane across the country for rides out of cornfields for a couple bucks. Just living the dream, being free, an airborne hobo, if you will.
Sure.
But he is a modern day Messiah, and he says something that in that book, the book has a lot of what I like to call good truths in it, even though it's a work of fiction. And he says, argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours. And that has stuck with me since I read it when I was like 16 years old. But it's apparently a lesson I haven't learned because I have continuously, in doing this whole podcast thing, I've always been like convinced we need to do this thing. We need to do that thing. Oh, podcasts are so niche now that you need to do this or that. And I realized, no, you don't. From now on, the intro will be sort of tongue in cheek. We will have tech aspects of it. But, realistically speaking, I think that there are a lot of people that they will listen to the podcast they listen to in the same way that I used to listen to radio shows. There's a certain point where you just enjoy it because you're listening to a conversation between friends. You're the third party that we just can't hear, right? And I made mention of this last time. So I'm not going to be so hung up on structure, ideas, because realistically speaking, this is in many ways just like fandoms. It's just us talking about our passions. Robert Manning, hello. Welcome to the chat. Nice to know you're out there, man. Oops, I said his name. That's Buddy the Elf. I can't go back and edit it, man. My apologies. But glad you found us somehow, since TikTok won't let us on. Why, I don't know. So I just want to put that out there. Look, guys, this is going to be a conversation between friends, no matter what. Is there a number I can still call, he says. Oh, you cad.
Oh.
No, there isn't, because guess what? Skype is long dead, my brother. It's all, isn't it just Microsoft Teams now? They killed off Skype. So it's just, look, this is two guys talking about the stuff they like, whether it's Tony and me, Trent and I, pardon me, poor English. Either way, that's what NetHeads is going to be, because I notice certain things like, unfortunately, a lot of my media and all of my news is dictated by TikTok now. And every time I see podcasts come up, it's always something where somebody's just discussing something, whatever topic, the topic du jour, if you will, is what they're talking about. And I realize that's what we do. So let's just be us. Tony,
I agree. Yeah,
we'll let our geek flag fly.
Will we talk about tech at some point? Absolutely, because we're a bunch of nerds.
Yes,
and there's lots of tech involved in things. If anything, it's about what's failing for us to be like delayed on the podcast.
Yeah.
But there's lots of technology to talk about. It just doesn't have to be the focal point of.
No,
because honestly, I don't come, and agree to be on the show because of like, oh, we're going to talk tech. It's I'm going to talk to Will. So
you had me worried there for a second, just a brief second. You don't drop into the podcast because because you're the tech reporter, because you're bringing our latest tech news or anything. No, we're just here to chat. So
exactly,
I just want to put that out there. So NetHeads is this, but we're also going to change the show description a little bit, so that way we're a little easier to digest. Okay, so that way people know what they're getting into. But we will still have topics like this one. This particular show is probably going to be what I would predict would be a little bit 3D heavy, because one of the things I have been doing, I wouldn't say I've been kind of holding back the information for any particular reason, but a week ago, yesterday, I bought a new used car. It's new to me. It's a 2023 Ford Maverick XLT. It is a hybrid, which is why I went with a compact truck. My wife refers to it as my trucklet. I accept that. Okay. Although I will say that yesterday I utilized my truck bed to take all of the cardboard in my garage, break it down. And the city I live in, we have you okay, buddy?
Yeah.
You're right there?
Itch. Yeah.
We have a community recycling station for cardboard, of all things. You pull up to this one place by the Water Reclamation Center, and there's 4 gigantic bins, and you can throw your cardboard in there. And for once, it was nice not rolling up in my little SUV. Instead, I was rolling up in my little truck with all the other big boy trucks, unloading all my cardboard. So that made me feel better. But I just realized I chose this vehicle because I realized I'm no longer driving a family around. My daughter is 21. My other daughter is 10. She may ride with me. My wife may ride with me. But if the 3 of us are going somewhere, I guarantee you we're going in my wife's SUV. So I finally decided this is the point in my life I can have a car. I might as well enjoy it. And with all of the tariff discussions and the like, the Kia Sorento that I drive, the air conditioning went out. And suddenly I realize with a Kia Sorento, which is in Korea, there's potential that all of my automotive parts could start getting more expensive. So actually with any car, I think parts can get more expensive, because I'm sure Ford, Chevy, and the like probably don't make their original equipment manufacturer parts locally in America anymore. Yeah. So I figured it was time to get out of a vehicle that wasn't in this decade. You know what I mean? It was a good time to make the jump. Well, I got some money in the bank. Let's do this. Good decision. The interesting thing, for those that don't know, I am a 3D printing enthusiast. Okay, I
know
am
where
a
you're going.
hobbyist of it. I don't do it professionally. You'd think for a guy who is an attention whore and always trying to get people to look at me, you'd think I'd make more 3D printing content, but no. Which, by the way, I want to come back to please remind me again later to come back to the arguing for your limitations. Because
Okay.
I do want to talk about content creation too. Which, by the way, when we talk about it, I'm sure you can freely make fun of me for my position. But one of the things that I found out about this car, starting in 2022, this happened. And I don't know if it's current in the 24s and the 25s. I mean, the 25s wouldn't have come out yet. No, they would have. I'm sure they're out there. But there was a very interesting thing that in all of my research for this vehicle, you would have thought I would have found out about. Because I didn't just buy a car. Here's my methodology. I start to think about something. I start watching review videos about that thing. I start watching reading the good and bad about that thing. My wife knows I'm going to be doing something when I go into research mode about it. That's my
course.
tell. And one of the things I was completely unaware about, and this is going to surprise the hell out of you, I think, Tony. Well, it won't because you know about it, but I think anybody that listens to this program knows that for me to not know that Ford created a spot in the car, a specific type of indentation, and then released a CAD file for the matching part for that indentation so that people could start 3D printing their own accessories for it. How did I not know about the Ford integrated tethering system? I don't know.
But it was destiny, man. It
Right?
was destiny.
Now, I stumbled across it, and this is going to be a little bit bumpy here on the program, but, bear with me, okay? But it all started because the truck has a, like all trucks nowadays, it's got CarPlay and Android in it, which means it's got some type of screen. I think they originally meant to have a 13-inch short screen in it. So it would be wide, but not tall. But I think they ran into supply issues, more than likely because of aftermath of the pandemic and chips and everything else.
Sure.
So what happened is they came out with this thing. Let me resize it down for you. Their solution was to jam a cubby into the side of the truck there. So for those of you looking at the video, you can see my heads-up display, and then you can see there's that cubby off to the right-hand side. And they did put an original equipment manufacturer little mat underneath it, so that way, you could put some things in there and they wouldn't slip out. So instantly my mind thinks, some smart people have probably thought to print something that could go in there. Right? Some type of, and that way I figured the other complaint I have is there's not really a convenient place to put my cell phone. Because if you do have a smart screen in your car with CarPlay and you're using something like Waze, the beautiful thing is it becomes a total navigation system because there's the Waze screen and it tells you about the next direction. But your phone becomes the route items or the old MapQuest types of things with what all of the right turns and left turns are going to be coming up. So it turns out that's how I stumbled across the Fits, because not only did I find out about the printing system, but then that's how I found out about the printing system and looking up, trying to find that notch. And for those of you that may be wondering what that notch looks like, I have 3D print experiment number 1 here, which you can see is a MagSafe charger, which I decided, oops, that's stupid and redundant because for CarPlay to work, you have to plug in. So why have 2 cords? And I also didn't like that it wasn't angled over. So here is the notch that they created, this piece right here. And it works really well. Only thing is that notch isn't present in that cubby. But lo and behold, you can print a little storage bin that'll fit in there that people then affixed the Fits receptacle acceptor right there. That notch is in it. So now... Once again, if you'll bear with me while I do a big blow-up version of the image and then scale it down, I will just go ahead and...
Nice.
There we go. So now, what I did, because I have to plug in, is that little storage bin is in there, and I use I think it's Oleo, or I can't remember which holder it is, but it had a little, you could 3D print that same kind of piece that I just showed to have it there, so it's a little more angled towards the driver as well. Oh, and thanks, Picture Time, for Alexa calling me out on getting San Francisco Giants updates. Appreciate that, guys. Glad there wasn't something about my wife talking about the size of my manhood on there or something like that popping up. But anyway, so that's the other reason why I went away from this direction, because it could not be changed. But that little receptacle is right there. Now, the other practical places it exists is on the back of the center console. So that way you could 3D print additional cup holders. You could 3D print a garbage bag holder, are some of the things I've seen. I've even seen,
pretty cool,
of all things, chicken nugget holders where you could put all 6 nuggets in it and the dip right there.
Okay, that's cool.
Pardon me, the dipping sauce. I'm the dip.
Yeah.
But the best one, I think, and this is the smartest one, is that under the rear seats, typically there's storage there. They put them on opposing sides of the storage so you could print up your own dividers as well. So I look forward to finding where all of these things are and sharing my 3D printing journey. I just feel like an absolute schmuck for not knowing that my car has such versatility.
But you were able to, it worked itself out. You don't need to worry about it. Like, now it makes me want to know, like, what other 3D print options are there for other cars? Like, I've never thought to go look, like, when you think about, like, with the Stream Decks, you looked for an accessory for under the counter to be able to have your Stream Decks. Looking for different things for accessories, like for your microphone, or for, like, I have, the simplest thing is I have a desk that I made from parts of IKEA. And so I've got the 2 big bases on the edges, and I've got one leg that's telescoping. It can go to different sizes. In the middle, I printed a hook that attaches to the side of the leg. And I just put my headset there, and I got black electrical tape that I just wrap around it just to give it some added reinforcement, because I can sometimes be brutal and pull things. And so when I'm not using my headset, it's unplugged and wrapped up and underhooked on the leg. And you do little things like that, no matter what it is. And you just normally, for 3D printers, we'll look for solutions, but we do forget. Like Christmas time, I had a Walmart tree that we were wanting to put up in a corner, and one of the feet were missing. And so I 3D printed the feet, and it worked perfectly. So, don't count yourself out because you forgot that, you could look up and see if there are 3D print options. I wouldn't have even thought about it. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
I accept that. And it's very, very true. I do have to say, though, it's interesting, the era that we are in of 3D printing. And I cannot believe it has only been, truly, in my opinion, one company that has come up with a way for the full democratization of 3D printing. I will say that others have followed suit, because you, for example, have it's the Creality,
the K1 Max. Yeah.
K1 Max, which is I think it's called a Core XY printer. So your print bed, instead of like a bed slinger like I have, where the print head comes down and prints as it goes up from the bed, instead you have XY directionals that move the print head around, and the print bed lowers as it prints, correct?
Exactly, yes.
And I'm guessing that in using the slicer that comes with it, you've had an effortless time, because I haven't heard you bitching and screaming about it.
Yeah, I will say, so when I had the Ender Pro, or the Ender 3 Pro, the software was clunky. It was just not conducive to 3D printing. You kind of had to play around with it, and then God forbid if they did an update, and then you had to download the whole thing again. But with the K1 Max, it's using Creality Print. And I think I'm on version 6.1, and every single time, from choosing your support structures to whether you want, like, and it's funny because I realized something. Once I got the K1 Max, I stopped worrying about rafting, like brim versus raft. I didn't care. I don't care. I just print straight from the bed. And so, yeah, if I know, like, I'm going to be printing a larger space, I might put some glue down just to give it a little bit more adhesion. But I don't worry about that stuff anymore. Now it's more of getting my temperatures right for the type of print that I have. And fantastically, I can choose whatever type of filament that's out there, and it will automatically preset everything. That was not as simple with the Ender 3 Pro. And so I've been spoiled this last year,
Fair
making
enough.
lots of wild stuff. I've got a freaking boat next to me that I built for Dungeons and Dragons that is massive. And yeah, I love it. And I love the fact that because it's got a bigger print space, I can actually take multiple segments that are from a 3D print and I can fuse them together on the software.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can just print them as one big piece.
Oh yeah, because back in the day, when we
Mhm.
were stuck using like Ultimaker Pro for slicing our files, because it's called slicing, because if you're printing a 3D object in the real world, guys, the 3D printers all print at the height level of a sheet of paper. Okay, essentially that's what it is.
It's
So that's one
literally
line
like a
at time.
reverse
So
CAT scan.
yeah, so the slice works, or a slicer, pardon me, I'll get to slice works in a second. But the slicer software will put all of those lines together so the printer knows how to print it. And now in like Bamboo Lab is the other one, is the one who
Mhm.
I think is the innovator that a lot of people have followed suit with.
Yep.
But thank goodness somebody came along to help kind of move things along. They're in their slicer, and I'm sure it's the same thing with Creality now.
Mhm.
You can, like, let's say you wanted to put a Deadpool face on your wall to match the other two that you have, like these up here.
Yeah.
You can, in the software now, just go ahead and align that, slice it, cut it in
Mhm.
half, and then print it out, which is what I did. It's amazingly easy. I'm going to tell you how simple it is now. This morning, over on It's Fanbox YouTube channel, you can go to itsfanbox.com to find out more. I missed out being on TARDIS Talk because my mother-in-law was in a panic. There was a screw she couldn't get out of something, and I show up to her house, and it's because it's in a Bamboo Lab A1 3D printer. It's the Bamboo Lab version of a bed slinger, as I like to
And
call
I
them.
said this in the text message, but I like your mother-in-law even more now.
Right? And the reason why she did it got this printer is because I told her 3D printing is much easier now, and she is definitely I will never say what her age is, but she is definitely into retirement years.
Sure.
And she is making, of all things, she bought a log cabin kit to make her own log cabin dollhouse. So she
Okay.
wants to furnish the dollhouse. So rather than buying things,
And it's such a great thing. Yes.
she wants to print them and paint them. So I went over and fixed that problem, and I also gave her all 5 years of experience I have and knowledge in a very quick
Mhm.
dump. And she's already 3D printing things. That's how easy it is now.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's amazingly easy.
Yes.
And there are a lot of conventional or functional things you can make, obviously, as you have
Yeah.
seen through the years here on this show as I've done this experience. By the way, Josh Mundal, I will be updating my background, and somewhere behind me we will get those wonderful signed 3D or signed Mallrats prints. Thank you. Or they'll be on a sidewall where I can see them. Because really, I need more artwork in here that I can enjoy and be less about the background. But I hear you, sir. And a special shout out to Beyond the Fat Man Studios, as well as ZB in the chat as well. So glad you guys are here.
Can I say something, Will? Though, when I was just thinking about our backgrounds,
Yeah.
I feel like we're now at a point where not only is it the Captain America shield that's necessary, there needs to be an Avenger side, and there needs to be some type of RGB hexagonal lights. I just realized that.
I am going to change the configuration back here because, I've got Christmas decorations up year round with these hexagons, and I designed this to be removable. It's just command strips holding it.
I promise you, I've got that Iron Man helmet somewhere. If I find it, because I used to have it where its head would stick out and its hand was coming out as well. I had both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the best parts. But yeah, I think we do. Well, honestly speaking, Tony, the only reason why this thing is here is because of you. You had your illuminated one, and I wanted to have one. I was jealous. That's why that Avenger symbol is back there. Also, I will share. This is another reason that 3D printing is so cool. Now, one of the things my mother-in-law did, this is not a commercial.
This is one of the reasons why 3D printing is so cool. I can't even show you. Like, there you go.
There you go.
Like,
Look
I
at the
3D
size
printed
of that thing.
I still haven't painted it yet, but
He's
the
showing
great
the
part about
boat,
it
by
is,
the way, guys. If you're just listening to the podcast,
like, I can take it off in segments so you can get to the different levels. I love it. I absolutely love it. And then what was cool was this 3D print. The way it was designed, it had like 3D printed sails, and I hated that idea. Like, I didn't like the sails always being up. So eventually, I'm going to take and make cloth sails with ropes and stuff to actually have it look like it can be furled up or whatever. But you can make tons of little. And I didn't like the fact that it didn't have a helm, so now it's got a helm here. And yeah, I'm just saying you can pretty much do anything with 3D printing.
yeah, and the not that this is a Bamboo Lab commercial. All of these printers also now have multicolor filament options, so you can use the software to choose which areas need to be what color, and then you can have up to, at a minimum, 4 colors that you could utilize. And like for S's and gigs, I went ahead and decided to print up the NetHeads logo to have behind me, and that's like part of the wall redesign. Cool. And honestly speaking, that's just utilizing, I think, 3 colors, because we've got black, silver, blue, and those are the only ones. And yes, it takes a little longer to print, but look how easy and simple that was to do. So
it looks beautiful, though.
It really is. We're living in an amazing time where anybody's idea, you can do rapid prototyping of concepts now. Yeah. And it, like, the whole thing is, it doesn't take a lot of brain power to do this. But if you do want assistance with your brain power, I got to tell you guys, you've heard me talk about Magic Mind a lot on this show, and I have to be honest with you. The reason why, when I was approached by Magic Mind to be a brand ambassador, it's because it's a product that I used and I believed in. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Magic Mind is it's a little green shot bottle of goodness that will go ahead and give you that kind of mental power boost that you need, that mental energy boost that you need. And if you want to wonder how good Magic Mind is, it's 6:46 p.m. on a Sunday, and I'm shot out of a cannon. Why? Because this afternoon, well, actually at around 1 o'clock, when I finally got around to having my coffee this morning, I also I front loaded it with a shot of Magic Mind. Now, what Magic Mind is, carefully designed by really smart people, and they got the cordyceps in it, the cordyceps mushrooms, the lion's mane mushrooms, a lot of good stuff that including there's ceremonial matcha in it. I did not know we were doing something that was ceremonial. Let's just make sure the Wookiee gets the medal this time, okay, guys, in the ceremony. But it's got ceremonial matcha in it for energy. It's got the cordyceps mushrooms for energy. For less stress, it's got ashwagandha. It's got the turmeric, which is also good for inflammation, helps your joints. For focus, it has lion's mane mushroom. It's got citicoline. I don't know what citicoline is. I really got to read about these ingredients more, especially since I'm drinking them. But it's got a wonderful citrusy taste to it when you do this quick shot. And what it will do is it will help your body. For one, it gives you all of these elements that naturally help you along. And if you're wondering where they probably got their ideas, I'm willing to bet it's a lot from Eastern medicine, where a lot of these things have already been used. Because Western medicine, they just want to give you a prescription. They want to, oh, you got focus issues? Here, we're going to go ahead and throw this at you. You got this issue? We're going to throw that at you. You got inflammation? Take this. Take an anti-inflammatory. But, for hundreds and hundreds of years, Eastern medicine has used these things naturally in order to enhance mankind. And that's what this does. And what it'll also do, if you take it in conjunction with your coffee, shortly after, shortly before, whenever the hell you want, maybe it's late in the afternoon and you don't want a coffee, but you want something that'll help boost you up but won't tear you down later. Yep. Magic Mind helps with that. But the great thing is, when you take it with your coffee, it helps your mind to deal with caffeine in itself, because caffeine doesn't give you energy and wake you up. It suppresses the elements that tell you you're tired. And that's why you crash hard when it wears off. But with Magic Mind, it helps balance that as well. Now, let me tell you, right now, if you go to magicmind.com/netheadlt20, what you're going to be able to do is get up to 48% off your subscription. Look, I'll be honest, you can use 20% off a single purchase, but in this day and age, in this weird economy and everything that's going on, you want to get the biggest bang for your buck. And I'm telling you right now, if you get Magic Mind and you give it 1 week, you're going to thank me that you got that month subscription instead, because you're going to be saving money on that subscription for at least that first month, and you're going to enjoy the benefits of Magic Mind. There have been people that do listen to this podcast that have told me, because of you, I tried out Magic Mind, and it works. The whole thing is, you're not going to see me do any reviews for something I don't believe in. And that's why I was willing to put my name and associate it with Magic Mind as a brand ambassador. I believe in it. So again, magicmind.com/netheadlt20. You get up to 48% off a subscription, 20% off a single purchase. Don't do that. And I promise you, do it for 7 days. Tell me how it treated you. netheadsonair@gmail.com. If you aren't fully satisfied, call them. But when you're fully satisfied, let me know how it benefited you. Because, like, again, we make mistakes in life, Tony. And yesterday, I made the mistake of I got a month subscription. I'm not taking my Magic Mind on a Saturday. And I was somewhere around 2 o'clock in the afternoon praying for bedtime. And that doesn't happen on day. I knew I wanted to be productive today. So I was productive, finally got my coffee, had my Magic Mind. Here we are, evening. I'm pumped. So bear that in mind, folks. Anyway.
All right.
All right. Let's get into 3D printing and helmets, since you keep showing your I was about to say you keep showing your tiny little helmet, but I don't want to get banned from other platforms.
No, but I showed you my big ship.
You did, and
Yes.
it's impressive. The size of those sails, man. Okay.
Doesn't matter the size of your boat; it's the motion of the ocean, buddy.
Exactly. So, superhero helmets are some of the things that I have loved 3D printing. So far on this program, you've seen that I have self-printed a Deadpool helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I have self-printed a Wolverine helmet.
Yep.
And the latest contribution, if you go to It's Fanbox on YouTube on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern, you'll usually see me, because we're talking the new Daredevil Born Again series. For the first half of the show, you'll see me wearing the Daredevil helmet. And then for the second half, you'll see me get out of it because I'm sweating balls in it. But it's
not the helmet by itself that's making you sweat balls. Let's just admit that you're wearing the whole
it's all the
glove,
monitors
everything.
and lights. As you can see in the preview art, I'm wearing that's my eyeglass cutting ring. The balaclava or whatever it's called is pulled over my head because it just I'll show you guys. It looks weird when you can see ears. Okay. It looks unusual when you can see my ears, but boy, that is a lot more comfortable. Maybe I'll do this next week. And for those of you that have been on this journey with me for a while now, you'll know that I have a yearly subscription to do3d.com, and they are the ones that make the helmets that I trust. And almost every one of them uses the integrated magnet system for the pieces to go together, right? If I did not want to wear this, where the hell are my glasses? If I didn't want to wear this with the eyes in it, I could just take them off, little tiny magnets, hold that on.
Very cool.
And I will say that of all the helmets that I have made so far, this one is by far probably the easiest. It's the easiest to put on. It's the least cumbersome. And
I would say the Daredevil, the Deadpool was your most complicated.
Yes, it was, because it involved a drop down piece,
all the dies. Yeah.
A lot of print failures, which I was going to say, for 3D printing adhesion, I need to send a link to my mother-in-law as well. Sliceworks.com with an X on it, sliceworks.com. They have a triple dipped cold plate that as it gets warmer, it gets even stickier. So you don't need adhesive, and it's called a cool plate because it runs at a cooler temperature. So you're generating less heat, which in this sweltering office with two of those printers in here, it's a benefit. I will say that even though I did try to print it in a red filament, I did have to subject myself to doing a spray paint job on it to get a deep, richer red. I did a very bad acrylic print, but it's a very easy helmet to print if you have a 3D printer. I will say, too, though, if you want to go for the more photo-accurate eyes like I did, there's a very easy solution for that, too. I went onto eBay, and I got a simple roll of plastic. It's like about yay tall and thin, and it goes, it's what cake makers use to go around the outside of more of a parfait type cake that's
Okay.
just decorated from the top, because I didn't want a long sheet of plastic. I wanted something small to work with. And then I bought a window tint that is obviously red metallic that is reflective. So it gives almost the screen accurate look of what the eyes are on the show, as you can see. And honestly speaking, very easy to see through when you're not fogging it up with your face. It's just everything is colored red. So that's the only drawback. So if you want to, link will be in the description later if you want to see this one for yourself, but it's do3d.com for it. If you have a 3D printer and you're like, oh, maybe I should, yeah, you should. Okay, because it's just that easy. But this print there, I talked about it. This is the update on it. It's done. You know, it obviously it has issues, like there's a little extra black paint on the horn, but I rush printed this in order to wear it on when I was hosting Fat Man Beyond as a dumb visual gag. And I'm thrilled with the quality of it. And now it's going to be one of the things that is mounted on my wall.
Now you just need to print just the horn, and just that way you can fiddle with
just
it.
the one that I could fiddle with. If you guys have any questions about the print or want help on it or want more information, go ahead and email us, netheadsonair@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. And one of the things I will say is that because I have the yearly subscription to do 3D, I also have the license to be able to sell these prints. So if you're interested in a Daredevil helmet, let me know. We can talk about it. Or a Wolverine helmet. I don't know about the Deadpool one because it's risky.
That was too much.
It's not what I would call an easy one, because you know, if you're gonna try and turn your hobby into a business, you want it to be stuff that is easier to use. Leonard Wood pointing out 3D printing is so much more accessible now than it was 5 years ago, which is true. And ZB says fogging up too soon, man. Great point. Let's talk about Daredevil Born Again, like we haven't done it enough yet. You know, since we kind of gave our thoughts on the specific episodes, a lot of people enjoyed the 4th episode of the show. I personally wasn't too into it. Let's keep it spoiler free, but just in general, Tony, how are you enjoying the Disney Plus version of the Daredevil TV series?
Well, okay, so like we were talking about last night, I think one of the things, and just so that it's not spoilery, is I love how these episodes, we're getting a bunch of them. We're getting a number of them. And Marvel has always struggled with pacing to where you feel like you can't really wrap a story up by the next. I think the fact that we know that there's a season 2, and the fact that these episodes feel very well self-contained, that tomorrow, if they decided that the next episode was going to wrap everything up and it was going to be the end of season 1, it would make sense and it wouldn't feel rushed. Now, do we want him in the suit? We absolutely do. We want to see, you know, some big penultimate, like really big event. But regardless of that, the story is well self-contained. There's good dialogue, especially in this last episode between Matt and another character. If you haven't seen it yet, you need to go watch it and you'll know what I'm talking about. But it really helps build that catharsis, I think, for Matt, that is going to get him one step closer to being Daredevil again. And so I've enjoyed the show. I think it's great. I can understand where a lot of people feel like this one was a little bit more of a letdown, but yeah, I'm excited for this next week. And I think this next week is 2 episodes, isn't it?
That's what Johnny tried to tell us. He said that we may be getting 2 episodes this week, which, you know, I'm all for. I'm glad. I'm happy for them to do that. I will admit that when it came to this show, or actually when it came to the other show, the Spider-Man cartoon one, the name which eludes me at the moment. It, you know, I wasn't aware how many episodes they were releasing, and I was always shocked at the number that we were getting. But when it comes to this particular show, look, my only complaint about this show, and this isn't very spoilery at all, I really prefer a lot of Daredevil in my Daredevil program. And I think now with season 1 of Daredevil on Netflix and season 3 of Daredevil on Netflix, we've already seen this guy make a journey to earn the costume, okay? And I understand this might be, and I think part of what we're suffering from is that it's a new audience with Disney Plus. So they're kind of being a little hacky, falling back on story that they've already done in order to kind of reintroduce the audience to this, which is fine. But these shows are on Disney Plus. So you don't really need to do this. I've already seen this guy journey for the costume. I don't need it again.
Sure.
But at the same time, I can't make a Daredevil. So I will take what I get and I'll be happy about it. I just hope that we get a lot. I hope that they spend more of this time with him out of the costume, exploring more of what his abilities really are. Because we've seen some of that in the show in new and inventive ways with the use of aspect ratio and like. So I hope we see more of that.
Or even like his detective skills, like trying to figure out where the bullet casing was from
For
Edgar
something.
Allan.
For something. Yeah. For something.
So but yeah, I think the only thing that I would have said was knowing how I was getting up to Daredevil, the Netflix series, episode 4, I was really hoping there would be some big event like there was in that first season of Daredevil. Because if you remember correctly, episode 4 was the episode where Wilson Fisk took a car door to a guy's head. And we realized just how vicious he was.
Well, I think there are elements in this 4th episode where they're kind of giving us that again.
But I will say, We Built This City is probably one of my favorite songs at the moment, just for how that went down.
Okay, that's enough out of you, sir. I'm gonna have to put you in a corner and make you go on timeout. But all in all, I will say that I am still enjoying it. There's something in every one of the episodes to enjoy. So if you've been sleeping on it, get off your ass and watch the show. And especially if you're one of my friends, get off your ass and watch the show. That's all I'll say. And also this week, another big thing that happened in television, because we're really talking about this past week. If you have been sleeping on the show Severance and you are a fan, say, of Twin Peaks or other more original type programming, I would say it's time to finally break out a subscription, even if it's just for a month, to Apple TV Plus, because Severance on that service is incredible. It is mind-bending, it is mind-breaking, and it probably had one of the best series finales in television I have ever seen this week. And that's all I'll say about that without being spoilery. I'm sorry you're not watching it.
Well, I think it's about time. I did, and I realized this. We were talking about this the other day. I did the 3-month trial of Apple TV right when the Monarch show was going on with Godzilla and everything. And then after the 3 months, I just let it expire. Yeah. It's probably about time to see if my wife can get a 3-month subscription and we go into that.
Yeah. But, or look, if you're around that time where you finally need to upgrade, I understand if you want to wait until September to get your new Apple device and then get the free 3 months with it, because that's what they always do. But honestly speaking, the Apple TV Plus service, if you have not ever entertained it, again, not an ad. If you've never entertained it, it is definitely one to get into because it does have a lot of shows that I've watched that I've thoroughly enjoyed. Ted Lasso, Shrinking, and like you mentioned, the Monarchs show, and now this one, Severance. I didn't even know what it was, and I will admit that the initial concept of it terrified the hell out of me because, like, the basic concept is, imagine if you could get a chip put into your head, and then every day when you go to work, another personality does the work, and then once they're done working, you come back. So imagine, I thought, now on one side that sounds like a great idea, on another side that sounds absolutely terrifying, because imagine the only existence is going to the office. No, thank you, hard pass. I don't want to be that guy, because that would be my lot in life. That would be my luck. Suddenly, the only awareness that I have in life is the guy that's forced to go to... Wait, that is my life. But I do have life out of it, thankfully. But Severance's season finale, this one was great. The only thing I hope we don't have to deal with is another 3-year break. The first season was shot during COVID. I think elements of the second season were still shot during COVID restrictions. And I think somehow they were also impacted by the writer's strike. So,
I actually heard Severance was renewed for another season,
yes,
and they said you will not have to wait 3 years.
I better not,
So,
man, because I'm going to be.
but also in the mix of Apple TV Plus, because I just realized I did see a thing of this. If you were a Ted Lasso fan, they are filming another season.
Yeah, of all the places that I never would have expected to get my big Ted Lasso news, it would have been on the New Heights podcast hosted by Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey. But they had Ben Stiller on because, look, in this day and age, I've been like waning on what podcasting is anymore and whether it's relevant anymore. But I think in some respects, podcasting is still a place where people get information and they get their news. So it's understandable that you start to see people having to go through new media to promote their things. So I understand with the popularity of New Heights why Ben Stiller is on New Heights and is able to give us this news. You know what I mean? I understand why people cycle through Hot Ones. I totally get it because you need to get the word out. And we now live in an era where it's not going on television and like going on late night or go with Kimmel or with Colbert or with Fallon, because those moments are just mostly going to be seen now as sound bites and clips on other new media. You're going to see it on TikTok, on Instagram Reels and the like. So I understand that. And that's the only reason. Well, I only do this because I like talking to my friends. But I also understand why people have to churn through this media. They're not, and the thing is, it doesn't matter how big or small you are, because, some of them will just take the exposure they get. I never would have dreamed in this lifetime I would have the opportunity to interview Ming-Na Wen, but
Right.
WB and I have been friendly with one another, not in that awkward kind of way, in a nice way that's respectable and consenting with adults. But the WB and I have a relationship now. And, I'm going to have an opportunity to also interview the producers of the new Gremlins cartoon series that is on Max. And that's because of the size, not even because of the size of the show, but it's because it's because we're associated with Kevin Smith. That's because if this podcast
sense.
did not appear on smartycast.com, it probably wouldn't happen. But everybody has opportunities. So, hey, if you've thought about doing a podcast, you may as well start, even though the market, we're at a point where things are overly saturated and there are things that are real niche. I think the biggest problem and the biggest depressing thing for me was the moment every single star and every single person started having a podcast as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when you have like celebrities that do music and television and movies, and then they decide to go into voice acting that completely pushes out the voice actors. It's like, come on, just let the space be to the niche people. Let us have our thing. But at the same time, we get good content from some things. And I'm okay with that a bit as long as I can still do what I like to do.
Fair enough. Yeah, look, man, I'm the same way. Okay.
Yeah.
I have never, actually, honestly speaking, I think everybody has that dream where they're suddenly somehow able to do content creation, but and make a living that way. But I think that anybody that does that probably has a rude awakening and discovers it's actually a lot more work than their regular job to try and do that.
Yeah.
And like I have had certain opportunities because of the size of the audience or following. There's a very big distinction there. The following that I have on TikTok, and by that I specifically mean the number of followers. But your number of followers don't mean squat, because if you look at the number of views that I get, that ratio is way off.
Yeah.
But I also don't make a lot of content, which actually kind of brings me back to the other point of arguing for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours, because I have had opportunities, and I've had opportunities to make money. I'm honestly in the game just to get free crap, okay? That's what I want. I want free stuff. I came from humble means, so getting something for free is great. And that's my real drive, because I'm realistic. I'm not going to make a living doing this. However, I also have to freely admit something, which I'm sure you're probably going to find a little funny. I realized the reason today why I don't make a lot of content the way I used to. And it's because if you look at 2020 Will and 2019 Will versus Will now, I will freely admit the fact that I have gained weight. Okay? In 2019, it was the funniest thing. I had started to do keto, and then I went to San Diego Comic-Con. And at San Diego Comic-Con, you don't eat a whole hell of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally came back for San Diego Comic-Con having dropped like 10 pounds, mostly probably water weight. And then I continued that to probably get to the lowest I have in decades. And then either I plateaued on that or something else. There have been other health issues in my life and medications introduced, and I've put back on weight. I have stopped making content, Tony, because I realize I don't like looking at myself anymore, which is really sad because I'm applying a concept to myself that I don't apply to anyone else. I don't look at anyone else and judge the way they look for their content. I just judge their content because I'm a judgmental prick. But I stopped doing that. And so I'm going to try and turn that around. I'm not going to ask anyone to hold me accountable. And yes, for my own personal health, I would like to lose weight. But I mean, I almost got kind of a little sad when I realized that. I'm like, why am I holding myself back just because I don't like to see the extra chin waggle and the extra bit hanging around my cheeks?
Mm-hmm.
You know, let go of it and just have fun. So that's what I'm going to do.
See, it was a little different for me. So like 2020, I didn't make a lot of content. It wasn't until around Christmas time I really made one of my first actual videos, because I did art before. I think I threw like a gallery of like art pieces that I had done. But then the pandemic kind of killed my creativity for making art. But I did a video about like the Legos that I bought my kid and how the box was completely it was basically this Lego Mario starter kit. It's so wonky the way this is designed. Any kid who's seen it in the store would know they're getting that for Christmas if you wrap it. And so I did that, and then I think I did a video right after Kevin Feige said that he wasn't going to recast T'Challa's or Chadwick Boseman's role as T'Challa with his passing. And then I go back and I look at those older videos, and I realize at that time and period in my life, I wasn't really engaging with a lot of people. I was working from home. I was secluded. I wasn't. And so my articulation, the way I was like talking, the way I was looking, everything, I was like, I had lost something. And the more videos I've done, the more I feel confident about my talking and about it's like I got that back, because I've always been I'm a very introverted person, but I have like extrovert tendencies. And so I'm very comfortable talking to an audience. This is teaching me how to talk to an audience of just one. And as long as I'm happy with what I'm doing, I'm willing to do it. Now, this last year, I have made a whole lot less content than I've made for any year in the last 4. And it's more of me just trying to figure out like what I want to do and who I am, because I'd rather pour more into getting other people an opportunity and a platform on its fan box than really worrying about my Mr. Marvelite accounts. And so
Well,
it's a little different, because listen, his fan box does not get very like a lot of views, but I like making the content look good. And it doesn't matter, because if one day someone finds it and it does well, it only helps those that are actually creating with me.
that honestly, there is one other thing that's the reason why I don't do a lot, and it's because actually, you know, it part of it comes back to the follower count. Obviously, TikTok is my largest audience. Following, again, there's a very big distinction. And part of me has been afraid to make content outside of the robots, because the robots are why people followed. But at the same time, I'm not going to get engagement if I'm not genuine. So I got to switch that.
Mm-hmm.
But I will admit the other thing too is that for content that you generate with your phone, I get really aggravated when my audio fluctuates. And I'm probably the only person that cares about this.
Yeah, your hand gets in the way of the microphone and it makes it sound tinny almost. And
Oh, no.
no,
Sir,
I'm right there.
I know I'm even worse, because I've always got some type of microphone. My biggest addition that helped me get over this hurdle before is a Shure
I'm
microphone.
still using this.
Oh, there you go. That's Lightning port enabled, and I'm dreading upgrading to a new iPhone this year because like half of the equipment I have won't be usable. I thought things would be better when I got I think it's a Movo wireless mic as well, but you know, there are little things that irk me about that. But interestingly enough, one of the videos I recently shot, if I don't mind the microphone in this shot, and if I don't mind editing things on my computer, which I do because it's easier and I can customize for more platforms, I realized Dickhead just used the microphone here and record it, sync the two up. Johnny Bananas, you're in action. So hopefully I'll get over it. But that's all that is to say that, you know, it's amazing also that some people, you know, they just have massive accounts. They're sitting in their car and they don't care. And not that I'm saying I want to be big. Here's the point. I like making content, one, because yes, I'm an attention whore, but occasionally, like today's Patreon supporter of the week, if you go to NetHeads on Air, or if you go to patreon.com/NetHeads on Air, we have a Patreon where you get exclusive audio at the front and back of the podcast, for example. Eventually, you will get
both ends.
Yeah, you'll get specific rewards. Like, you know, I recently started fiddling with making keychains that are very inspired by the NetHeads logo, but the brain is way too detailed to be that small. But I got a message from somebody that I am a friend with on Facebook, Ryan Connolly. He is the Patreon supporter of the week. And he messaged me saying, I know I haven't been around the NetHead space in a bit, but I still appreciate you, and I'm glad to have you in my life. You've been in the right place at the right times a few times for me. Thank you. I made sure to toast you yesterday for my birthday, right? And I got to say, that's another motivator for doing this, because I know that there has been content I have listened to, podcasts I've listened to, things I've done that have helped get me through tough times.
Yeah.
And to know that I can potentially be that person for other people as well, just doing what I'm doing, doesn't feed the ego. It just makes me feel like I'm helping to contribute to a bad world in a good way. And that's why, too, I'm like, you know, I should really do some more shit around here. But also, working like 3 jobs does kind of stress you out time-wise. So that's why I'm also a little imbalanced. I also dread doing some of the things that I have to do. And then I'm always mad when I finally do them. And I'm like, that was just 30 minutes of my life. What's wrong with you, man? What's wrong with you? Get off your ass and do it.
Yeah. There's always things that we do that we find that it's a huge hurdle to overcome. And then when you do it, you're just like, why did I wait so long?
By the way, Buddy the Elf is wanting to remind me that he's getting 5 minutes with Will Wilkins for his top tier Patreon. When's he getting his time? You will get it, sir. You'll get it. Even though I will say that after talking to you about this, I realized the wording was bad. So for future Patreon subscribers that do go ahead and subscribe at the MODOK level, I believe it is, you will get a one-time 20-minute like video call or whatever with the nethead of your choice. Which, by the way, it has to be me, because I'm not obligating anyone else to this. You know, it's not going to be Tony. I can't volunteer his time.
You could. Yeah, you could.
I think I should really change it. To
no,
just
you
be my
listen.
name.
You just offered it out there. Like if someone listen, it's never going to happen. No one's going to ever ask for it to be me. But I'm just saying it could be out there. Listen, it's just like this. I'm on Cameo. I have never done a cameo for anyone, but I've been on Cameo. I can say I'm on there with some celebrities. You can find Mr. Marvelite, but doesn't mean nobody does anything with it.
Yeah, fair enough. I understand that, and I get that. I totally get it. And by the way, I also do want to say thank you very much to all of the Patreon subscribers, as well as the people following on the various platforms that did wish me a happy birthday last week. It's one of the only reasons why I go on to Facebook. Not to see everyone's happy birthdays, but to make sure I'm liking them and making sure that everyone knows that I saw it and I appreciate it. I'm at the point now where I'm just collecting birthdays, although I will say this past birthday, I was way more that it's my birthday guy than I normally am. But it's because I kind of have a new philosophy where may not celebrate birthdays, but I'm definitely collecting them. And if everyone is going to want to wish you a happy birthday, may as well put it out there. You know, not to mention all the free crap you can get on your birthday is a nice added bonus.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. He's trying to say I paid for 2 months, so he wants both of us. So
Ooh.
now we're going to be stuck in a menage a trois or a thruple with Buddy the Elf. I hope you're okay.
Well,
with
that's why the Patreon supporters get both ends
There you go. Oh, that's so bad. And in a perfect note
of the
to end
show.
on.
Of
Yeah.
the show.
It's a perfect note to end on. Thank you very much, guys, for dropping in. Don't forget, sometime around 6 p.m. Pacific times on Sundays, as long as there's not a dance competition that my
Because
youngest
Will's got to
is going in.
keep winning his awards.
Yes, man. Let me tell you something. I'm a dancer at heart, and I put the moves on the stage.
So we were telling the Patreon supporters at the beginning about my kid doing Cub Scouts in the Pine Car Derby, and it's so funny because he won second place. My cousin was there with us, and my son calls him his uncle, and he leans over and he goes, "Nice job, Dad," because at 10 years old, you're basically helping your kid make a car. So it's as much my victory as it is.
One of the TikToks I made that I absolutely expected nobody to watch, but I just had to put it out there as well. I definitely had to show everybody my 4th grade project that I did for my daughter. Actually, she came up and wrote all this stuff, but I put it together for her. But yeah, I put it out there but that's the thing. I've started to move away from that, and I have started to make sure that my kids are doing things so that way they can learn those life lessons.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter has a project that's coming up, and I'm not going to go to the same level of help. I'll help her if she hits a roadblock, but I'm going to make her do it. My oldest daughter, when I bought the new car, I didn't trade in my 2014 Kia Sorento. Instead, I gave it to her because she's doing a lot of driving. I'd rather have her in an SUV than a dinky little Nissan Versa Note that I used to have that was her first hand-me-down. But I also told her, I'm going to give this car to you, but I need you to realize a few things. One, you need to take care of it better than you took care of the Nissan, because this is an investment now that you'll potentially be able to use for getting into your next vehicle through trade-in. It's got to be in your name because you're an adult and you need to know adult things, and you've got to get your own insurance. Yeah, sure. This enables me with one stroke to get 2 vehicles off of my insurance and 1 additional driver and save money for a few years before the youngest starts driving. But it's also about giving those life lessons. So, it's every opportunity that you have to teach your kids something is a good one. Make sure you take it. And dads, stop doing the whole project for them. Okay. That's a little bit of life lesson here. You're only going to get this hard truth on NetHeads. Okay. Don't do your kids' homework. Don't do all of their projects. Even though it is nice having a 3D printer when it comes to kids' projects, I'm not going to lie.
Let me just say this. I've already been looking up Pine Car Derby. I'm so glad that there's a class now where the friends and family can get involved, because I found out you can actually you can 3D print the fins for the Batmobile.
Oh,
so
that's
be
nice.
Prepared. Be prepared. I've already got the block, and I'm going to work on it all year.
Now, let me ask, before we sign off, I got to ask about this, because I when I was in it, I never participated in the Pine Car. I think I bailed out before Cub Scouts. But let me ask you, did you do anything to add a little additional weight to the car? Channel out something and throw some lead in there or something like that?
So we added full axles instead of the little nail-in, tap-in ones. So that gave a little bit of extra weight. Mind you, a lot of it had already been shaved off because it was designed as a fastback. And then I even did the tap where it helped the axles stay in place, and we got more premium wheels, which are just ones that didn't look like the regular ones. But when we weighed it, we were about 4.1, 4.2 ounces, and it had to be 5. So we ended up having to add 3 of these little tape-on weights, and we added 1 toward the front, and we added 2 in the back, side by side to each other. And I think that really helped out. That with the graphite, it was so funny because we're watching it go down there. I have video of all of it because I recorded it all because I'm a nerd. You can see it going down the ramp, and it's starting to go behind the other cars. And as soon as it hit level, it just knocked itself all the way in front of the other ones. And at one point, it actually went off the track and kept going.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you though is that it's not like when I was a kid. Everybody has to be a uniform weight, so it comes more down to design and engineering.
Yes.
Which, by the way, is one of those things where if I knew then what I know now, I don't know why I always get that one backwards. I would have gone into engineering if I had the aptitude for it. Not sure I did.
Mhm.
Because everything around us, somebody had to be an engineer to make that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Everyone's got ideas. They need somebody to engineer it. Either that, or I would have gone into the medical field, because people are always going to get sick. You know, where's a set place to make money? That's one.
Oh
But
yeah.
I know that sounds grim, guys, but let's be real. But also, we started way late. Now we're overtime. It's definitely time to go. Thank you very much for joining us this Sunday. Remember, you can find us if there are no dance competitions here Sundays around, I will always say 6-ish. Help you with the Sunday scaries and help you into your week. So please join us if you can. Thank you very much otherwise for listening or consuming, however you do. Don't forget, if you go to magicmind.com/netheadlt20, you can get up 20% off a single purchase, or I highly recommend 48% off the subscription for Magic Mind. Give yourself a boost of mental health, a boost of mental energy, and a boost of mental focus. I rely on this product on the reg, and I guarantee you it'll help you out too. And this isn't going to be the kind of thing you need to talk to your doctor about. It's like, hey, please consult a physician before. You don't have to worry about that. All natural ingredients, all good stuff. You ask your doctor anyway if you're concerned, but magicmind.com/netheadlt20. Again, in the show description later on, I will add in the Daredevil helmet if you have any interest in printing that, or if you would like to go ahead and purchase one from me, send us an email, netheadsonair@gmail.com. We can talk about it, y'all. And I can do some variants too. One of the things, let's just say it's been in the trailer. We see an example of all kinds of different Daredevil helmets, an all gold one, an all silver one, an all black
one.
I'm definitely open to doing that as well. But until next time, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for listening. My name is Will.
And I'm Tony.
And we'll be back soon.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins and Tony Abdullah.
Goodbye.
Signing off. I know. Stop being a little Nancy and deal with it. NetHeads will be back soon.
Bye-bye.
This has been a Smodcast production. Smodcast Podcast, using our mouths on you since 2007.
Using our mouse on you since 2010, or 2011 in our case, but we won't use them on both ends. Right? 'Cause
Right.
that would just be gross.
Oh, yeah.